Hi, and welcome to St. Margaret's Bible Stories for Young and Old Folk. Today, on August 9th, we have a very special and beloved story. Matter of fact, it's so loved that it got made into a play and a movie, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And we're going to be reading again from the Jesus Storybook Bible about, take a look at that coat of Joseph. But first, let me ask you a question. Do your folks have a favorite son or daughter? We all know how hard it is when one child seems to be the favorite. And boy, do we have a story here about a family with a favorite, what happened to them, and how he turned out to be special, not because of his coat, but because of his love and forgiveness. So this story that I'm going to read today is called The Forgiving Prince. And it's a story about Joseph and his brothers, and you can find it in your grown-up Bible in Genesis 37 to 46. Remember last time we talked about Jacob and his two wives, Leah and Rachel. Well, this is a story about his 12. That's right, 12. Like a dozen eggs all lined up, his 12 sons. The Forgiving Prince. Jacob had 12 sons, but of all his sons, Joseph was his favorite. One day, Jacob gave Joseph a splendid new robe. It was beautiful and filled with all the colors of the rainbows. But it made Joseph's brothers jealous. They wanted a robe with all these fantastic colors for themselves. Then, to make matters worse, Joseph kept on having really special dreams. This is what he said about his dreams. I dreamed I was the greatest. I was king, Joseph told his brothers, and you bowed down to me. Now, I'm sure you know, even if Joseph didn't, telling your brothers or your sisters things like that is really not a very good idea. Joseph's brothers hated him even more, and they wanted to kill Joseph and kill his dreams. And one day, that's exactly what they tried to do. They tore Joseph's rainbow robe off him and sold him to slave traders for 20 pieces of silver. The traders took Joseph to Egypt, a land far, far away, and made him a slave. Meanwhile, the brothers went home and they lied to their father, and they said that Joseph had died. That's the end of the dreamer, they thought. But they were wrong, because God had a magnificent dream for Joseph's life and actually for their lives too. Even when it looked like everything had gone wrong, God would use it all to make the dream come true, and everything that was happening to Joseph would turn out to be good in the end. Meanwhile, things didn't look good for Joseph when he was in Egypt. He was far away from home and from his family, and then he got blamed for something he didn't do. Doesn't that make you mad when that happens? And when people won't listen to you? And even though he had done nothing wrong, he was punished and ended up in jail. But God didn't forget about Joseph. No. One night, the king of Egypt, who was called Pharaoh, had a very scary dream about Skinny, skinny cows gobbling up the fat cows. What on earth did that mean? He didn't know, but Joseph had a reputation as a dream interpreter, an expert. So Pharaoh, the king, sent for him. Joseph explained, this means that a famine, that's when no crops grow, is coming. There won't be enough food, Joseph warned. Pharaoh was so pleased by Joseph's skill in interpreting his dream that he immediately took Joseph out of jail and made him a prince. Now, meanwhile, back at home, Joseph's brothers, they too had run out of food because the famine touched their area and everybody was really, really hungry. They were in danger. If they didn't get enough food, they would starve to death. But Joseph's brothers heard that there was a little bit of food in Egypt, so they traveled all the way back to buy food. They came down and knelt before the new prince Joseph. But because it had been so many years and Joseph was now a grown man, they didn't recognize him. But Joseph knew who they were. Joseph's dream, the one about the brothers bowing down to him, was coming true. When Joseph saw them, instead of being angry, he said to them, look, it's me, the one that you sold into slavery. Here I am. But did that make Joseph's brothers happy? No, they were afraid. They had sold him. They had sinned and they knew it. Now, they thought, Joseph certainly, being a prince, would punish them. But Joseph looked deep into their eyes, and his eyes filled with tears. Even though his brothers had hurt him and hated him and wanted him dead, he couldn't stop loving them. His heart, which they had broken, was filled with love, and Joseph forgave them. He threw his arms around them and said, don't be afraid. Behind what you were doing, God was doing something good. God was making everything right. Joseph didn't punish them. Instead, he received them into his arms, and he gave them the food that they were looking for. And he brought God's special family to live with him safely in Egypt. One day, long, long in the future, God would send another prince, and this prince would have his heart broken too. Like Joseph, he would leave his home and his father's. His brothers and sisters would hate him and want him dead, and he too would be sold for pieces of silver. He would be punished even though he didn't do anything wrong. But God would use everything that happened to this young prince, Prince Jesus, to do something marvelous, something, the best thing that has ever happened in the world. The end. Thank you for reading with me, and have a great week. Bye.